This book explains the entire history of it, why it happened, and ties it into the coup d'etat over this country, who really killed Kennedy. Available at InfoWarsStore.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139. And they are just harassing companies all over the U.S., shutting down factories, harassing doctors, even doctors that have small clinics. They're shutting down industry everywhere. That's exactly what the Nazis did, not just in Germany, but everywhere else. They shut down everybody but party members. So it's really a takeover of the economy. I think America's waking up to this, though, Dr. Corsi. We see the indicators of it everywhere.
Well, I think so, too. I mean, it ties in to what you've been saying, Alex. I mean, Lyndon Johnson was happy to use a false flag in the Gulf of Tonkin incident, which never happened, to fight the war and to allow the Vietnam War to be in the control of the CIA, also running drugs at the same time. The CIA has always worked with the mob in running drugs. In fact, one of the assassins I point out, who was found in Dallas, November 22nd, 1963, was a well-known Corsican international assassin who went back to the attempts to kill de Gaulle, who was helping with the mob and the CIA with the drug trafficking in Vietnam. There's another reason the military and the CIA and, you know, big business wanted Vietnam to be fought. Huge amount of drugs were going to be
And
fought.
by the way, de Gaulle was also trying to be president of France as well and not being part of NATO and wanted his own nuclear weapons. That's why they tried to kill him.
Of course, and also it ties into, as you said, the current, I bring it forward because Kennedy was also going to eliminate the Federal Reserve. He was going to break up the CIA. Instead, what we have is a world that the Nazis would have loved to have lived in, with Germany heading the EU, not a shot fired, a regional government controlled by Germany in the EU, transatlantic partnership, the NSA listening to every conversation in America, and a huge welfare state. It's a Nazi model. And then wars. No one should be surprised. Saddam Hussein, no weapons of mass destruction. Of course, it was a CIA lie from the beginning. And it's going on today. Assad using the chemical weapons, more CIA lies. John Kerry beating the war drums as Secretary of State, when in fact the UN says it was the rebels, when in fact, you know, why are we going to support the Al-Qaeda?
Probably the best book I've ever read on the Kennedy assassination because it ties into everything else. And it's all the real info, too, because I'm quite a buff on the subject, obviously, hosting the show over 18 years. And this is something I would give people that were doubters. This will wake people up. Going back to Dr. Corsi, sir, in the 4 minutes we've got left, we're obviously in a historic moment. It's obviously very creepy what the bureaucrats and regulators are doing. What do you recommend everybody do to really turn the tide? And I think we have a chance to beat these people if we take action. But what is the lay of the battlefield right now?
Well, I think this, you know, we're coming up on a government shutdown, and a government shutdown, people should, you know, encourage the representatives in Congress, go ahead and shut the government down. You know, the government wants you to feel it's going to be so painful, everything so awful is going to happen. They want us to beg to keep the government open, not to shut it down, even at the pain of imposing Obamacare. There's another scare tactic to get the government over the final hurdle to where Obamacare cannot be defunded. This is a critical battle. People should be happy to see the battle going forward. You know, all the economic pain we're suffering from Obamacare, the part-time jobs, the wrecking of private insurance, the increased costs of medical care, these were intended by the people who wrote the legislation. That's the hard thing to get your mind around. It was intended to wreck private health care. It was intended to send people more into the arms of government dependency. And the only way we're going to break it is to tell the government, no, we won't do it. We're not going to accept more debt. You know, go back to John Kennedy. It's time to break up the CIA into 1,000 pieces. We should never have fought in Vietnam. It was a false flag from the beginning. We've got to break up the Federal Reserve like Jack Kennedy would have done, start printing our own money with the Treasury, and tell these banksters we're not going to put more power into this new world order lie.
You know, it seems like you've gotten more bold recently, Dr. Corsi, and I would say you're on fire. Is it because you sense that the quickening, the crossroads, the jump point, the event horizon is arriving?
Yeah, if we've got a government in place that is willing to do a false flag in Syria on chemical weapons, lying about it, in order to put us more in the hands of Al-Qaeda and jihadi mercenaries in Syria, if that's who our government wants us to fight with, if this final pushes on with Obamacare, if we're now at $17 trillion and about not to be able to buy any more of our debt, the only thing left is for these New World Order people to run naked to the finish line. And they're going to try to scare people into doing this. They're going to try to create such a crisis. Everybody's going to feel they're going to lose everything. The only way you lose everything is if you give this government more power. If the government's going to crash, let it crash. Let it, you know, if the bureaucrats, all million of them that are employed by us, go home and don't ever come back, I don't think anybody's going to really miss them. I'll be happy if they start with the IRS and keep them home permanently.
That's it for this edition of the InfoWars Nightly News, but be sure to stop by the InfoWars shop and pick up a copy of Truth Rising so you can see Alex Jones's first confrontation with Geraldo Rivera. Now be sure to tune in to PrisonPlanet.tv tomorrow night because we will have a special extended edition of the InfoWars Nightly News with Alex Jones hosting a panel discussion talking about how the banksters have taken over America and giving you the in-depth report of the government shutdown. I'm Jakari Jackson, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
Now you can watch The Alex Jones Show live as it happens at Infowars.com/show.
You'll find links to all of our content there and a free 15-day trial for Prison Planet TV.
More than 60 movies and documentaries all in one place at Infowars.com/show.
Are we choosing our own destiny, or has it been pre-selected for us?
As we've moved through history, every great leader has had to understand the potential of information.
Billions of dollars have been spent privately and publicly looking at how to tap into your psyche.
From compulsory state education to the Hollywood media brainwashing machine, we are kept in perpetual bondage to the ideas that shape our actions.
When somebody obscures that feedback loop between you observing and testing it out and verifying it, they can take total control of your awareness.
All of this is happening so fast, you need to be ahead of the game.
How to engineer the opinion of the American people so that they would not only endorse but demand a war.
Oh, there's another one. Another plane just hit.
State of Mind, because there's a war on for your mind. Get your copy of State of Mind, the movie, at Infowars.com. And remember, every order at InfoWarsStore.com receives a free citizen rulebook.